First of all, thanks everyone for joining this Saturday afternoon. And I believe some people are also joining from countries like Australia. So thanks everyone for joining and giving your time. So the key thing that we are going to talk here is that is how we can effectively debug our code, especially the Salesforce backend code, which is Apex. How we can debug it because most of the time we start utilizing debug logs and we try to find it out, and if the log size is really huge, that really becomes on time to time when you are working on small scale companies or a small scale project. That's pretty easy for you to debug. Medium scale is projects actually start testing your debugging skills. They start testing your patience, what's your patience level and all those. So debug log is something that we are not going to touch because I'm sure if you are a Salesforce developer, you definitely are using that, and that is definitely a good tool. I would not say that that's not good, or that's not of use. But if you are a developer and you are using VS Code on your day-to-day job for developing any sort of code, so you are already familiar with the tool that we are going to utilize here. So we are going to kind of work, or we are going to see how Apex Replay Debugger can play a very vital role in our debugging, I would say, in the process for debugging. So there are, first of all, there are two types of debugger that Salesforce gives you. One is replay debugger and one is interactive debugger. We will use replay debugger. As its name indicates, it is a replay of the process which already has been completed. So for example, there is a trigger and that trigger has already been completed. Now you are going to replay that trigger to see what is the value of a variable, what is the value of a SQL query, how the call stack looks like, how a method is being called. That kind of things you can replay with the help of the Apex Replay Debugger extension. And there is one extension which is called as Apex Interactive Debugger. That is only available for App Exchange partners, and that is actually a interactive debugger, as its name indicates, right? It's an interactive debugger where you can debug it in the live, you can interact it live. As soon as there is a problem, your interactive debugger is going to pause there, and then it's more like a JavaScript debugger that we see in the Google Chrome or any browser, right? We are not going to touch that because we don't have any license for that. It is mainly for the ISV partners who are developing the App Exchange applications and posting it to the App Exchange. Before we actually get started, there are few I would say setup that we'll have to set up it. You need to have the VS Code installed into your machine. You need to have Salesforce extension pack installed into your machine, and then there is a one or two more things that we need to make sure are correctly set up and are there at play on their own place. Okay, first thing is that we need to have a JDK installed into our machine. JDK is not required if you are not using Apex Replay Debugger. To use VS Code along with SFCLI, JDK is not required. But if you want to use Apex Replay Debugger, JDK is really required for us. So that JDK has to be installed into your machine. Now, when we talk about JDK, earlier Java used to be free and you can download it and install it. Nowadays, you have to create an account on Oracle and then you can download Oracle JDK. But there are some free JDKs as well, like we have got Adoptium, then we have Zulu, and then we have Oracle GTK. So these are all like 3 JDK, where Salesforce says that if you're downloading Oracle JDK, please download 17. If you're downloading Zulu, download Java 17, and similarly for Adoptium. So any JDK that we are creating, that has to be of a 17 version, and I have not tested it for the later version, the latest version, which is, I think Java is somewhere around 21 or something. Zulu also has some similar kind of versioning, the latest versions, but download it the 17 version at Salesforce recommends is. So we are going to utilize Salesforce Java 17. Install it into your machine depending on if you are using Mac OS or if you are using Windows OS. That's the first part you have to do. The second part that you have to do is you have to update the JDK part into your VS Code extension. Okay, VS Code settings file. You have to update the JDK part. So this is basically they have given, if you see that how to navigate there, which is file, preferences, settings. This is for Windows or Linux. This is the first thing. Go to files, then go to preferences, and then go to settings. And if you are using Mac OS, then you have to go to code and settings, and then I think again settings. I'll give you a shortcut by which you don't really need to follow all these process that you have, all these steps. And then for Mac OS, you have to use exactly whatever is given here. Do not change anything else. Just use exactly whatever it is here. For Windows, use whatever they have given over here. Now it depends on which JDK you are using. So if you are using Zulu JDK, the path would be different. If you are using Oracle JDK, the path will be different. If you are using Adoptium, the path will be different. So make sure that you are using the correct JDK. You are kind of I would recommend to use Oracle JDK. It will require you to create an account into Oracle system, but that's fine, because Oracle is something has been in the ecosystem from a very long time. So that is my recommendation. But if you want to utilize other open source like Zulu, that is also fine. But let me show you, after you have done the installation, what you actually have to do. There is also a link from Trailhead, which is again for same thing, to download the Java and then to set up the path. This is again the same what we have is, as we talked about, this is exactly how you will have to use the path into your VS Code extension. If you try to change it, it might not work, and I have actually tested it. Earlier I tried to use my path, which I thought it is correct. It did not work. Then I researched it. I found that this is for Mac OS, because I'm using Mac. So I found this is the correct path, and as soon as I added this, I was able to make this work. So let me show you. Now there are two shortcuts. Two means one for Mac OS and one for Windows. If you are using Mac OS, what you will have to do is you will have to use command. You will have to use command plus this comma, and then if you are using Windows, you will have to use control. You'll have to use control plus comma. So these are the two hotkeys. This is for Mac and the below one is for Windows, and that is actually going to open the settings file for you. The settings page, actually, not setting files. So if you use this shortkeys or hotkeys, this is how your settings is going to look like. And then here you can search for maybe Java. If you search for Java, you will find out here multiple options will be here, and if you scroll down, there will be something related to path. This is where is that? Yeah, so I don't see. Okay, escape path JDK, where is that? And if you don't see, that is also fine, completely fine, because I'll show you how exactly it works. But let me first see where exactly it is. Yeah, so this is here. Here you will have to change the path. It is Salesforce DX -VS Code -Apex Java home. This is the place where you will have to search for. Let me see if I can copy it and put in the chat so that you all can have. This is the place which you will have to. I just added into the chat. So that's the place which you have to search for, and you will find it. And this is where you will have to add your path, whatever it is. So it is also giving the same thing here for Mac. This is exactly whatever I have written over here. If you see, this is OpenGDK. I have used Temurin, whatever Salesforce has given me in the document. I have used exactly as it is. For Linux, this is how. For Windows, if you are using Zulu, this is how you will have to use. If you are using Java JDK, you will have to use that path. So that's how basically you will have to make sure you are adding this path. If you do not add, you will not be able to make this debugger work, and that's the pain point. Let me also warn you on this. Setting up the Apex Replay Debugger is pain point. If you set up Apex Replay Debugger without any problem, your 50% work is already done. Now you just have to debug you just have to debug your code. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so once your debugger is done, let me quickly create a simple class. First I'll show you a simple class, how it works and all those. Okay, so let's say I'm saying PantherSchools. This is simple Apex class that we have, and let's create a simple method over here. Okay, so this is a simple code that we have developed over here, which says greetings, and then that accepting a single parameter, which is type of a string, and then we have got name variable, which is again it is static. We will try to make it dynamic later on. Then we have a simple debug statement. Okay, and how you are going to use replay debugger, that is now what we are going to see. So whenever you will know that, okay, this is the class which is responsible for performing certain logic. Okay, go to that class, figure it out what method it is, and when you find out that method in the VS Code, then let's say you wanted to add a breakpoint here in this line number 11. Okay, so go to that line, next to that line, click on that line, and there would be a red line which will be appearing. That means you have added a breakpoint. Okay, then similarly do the same on line number 12, or if you have if your method is actually long, which will eventually be. So if your method is very long, try to add the breakpoints at various places where you think that your code might be breaking, or you think that this is the place where I would like to see the information about a variable. Just add that breakpoint there. Adding the breakpoint here in the VS Code will not make any difference. It's not going to make any difference. You will have to toggle these checkpoints, and you will have to send these checkpoints to Salesforce. Unless you don't update these checkpoints in Salesforce, your toggles, your checkpoints, these are not going to work. So to do that, let's do Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P, and then here what you will have to do is you will have to search for checkpoint. Okay, so first you will have to select this select this command, which is sfdc toggle checkpoint. That is the first command you will have to use that. Oh, sorry, just once you have added this checkpoint, okay, then you search for sfdc update, and the second you will have to use sfdc update checkpoints in the org, updates in the org. So if you have checkpoints something like this or some other place, right, do not do that, those breakpoints at the comments. Just add the breakpoints wherever you need. After adding it, update the checkpoints in the org. That is the command you will have to run it. If you run the command, it is going to update the checkpoints for this specific class into your Salesforce org, which is connected. If you do not update the checkpoints in the org, it will not work again. And if you see here, there were total 6 steps, which actually has been completed successfully. This is the second step that you have to do. Then you will have to again run another command, and you will have to search for replay. And if you search for replay, there will be one command called turn on Apex Replay log, Apex Debug log for Replay Debugger. So we will have to turn on the debug log. Do not turn on the debug log from the UI. Do not turn on the debug log from the UI. Turn on the debug log for Apex Replay Debugger from the VS Code. Use this command and it will tell you if your replay debugger is running properly or not. Okay. And if it is running properly, you will see the difference and you will know actually that replay debugger has started. Okay. So now your replay debugger has successfully ran. You see here there is a success message that is coming up, and if you can see the bottom line, which is the bottom blue, then you will see it says recording detailed logs until 12:52. So it is going to take a window of that I believe somewhere around 30 minutes. There will be a window of 30 minutes and it's going to record the detailed log for you with the finest log level. Okay. So I hope you can see this blue line. So that means your log is actually running fine. Your replay debugger has successfully started. Next, now your replay debugger is started. Remember, the window is 30-minute window. You might have to restart it again after 30 minutes. Let's execute this method, which is the method is PantherSchools.greetings because it is a static method, and I would say Apex Replay Debugger. Okay, so that's what we have, Apex Replay Debugger. And let's select this piece of code. You can execute this either from you can still hear me, guys, right?
Yes.
Yes, Amit.
Okay, so you can execute this piece of code either from the developer console or you can execute using this VS Code itself. I'm going to use VS Code, which is we've got I've selected that piece. Go to command palette and search for execute, and then you will find sfdx execute anonymous apex with selected with currently selected text. So we already have selected this piece of code. We will select this command, and once we select this command, our code will execute. There is no error in the code. That is also fine. Okay, so it is kind of running our code. It should not take that much time, but now it has actually executed. Okay, it executed and there are some success message which is coming here in the terminal into our output section. So now consider that you have run the process, your process is completed. Now you need to run the replay debugger on that process which has recently ran. Okay, so what you will have to do is, once your process executed, open the command prompt and search for get debug log. So there is a command called sfdx get apex debug logs. This command will be used to get the debug log from your connected Salesforce org. Select this, and if everything is success, if your Apex Replay Debugger is really working perfectly fine, setup is correct, you will see the list of logs here. I can see that there is only one log, and if I open this, log is going to be opened here. You can see here, right? I have called this method and it clearly tells me that execute anonymous window is something where my method has been called. Okay, once you got your replay once you once you got your Apex here, okay, once you got your Apex debug logs, do the right click and then select the option called Launch Apex Replay Debugger with current file. If you open this, your debugger is going to launch currently. Okay, now you see here on this here, this is the place you might see in the middle of your VS Code, but I'm actually seeing it over here. You can drag and drop and keep it wherever you want. So I've just kept it over here for my convenience. And call stack, you can see here on the left hand side there is a call stack, then there are breakpoints, and then there are some checkpoints, variables and watch. These are 4 places that we have. Currently it is paused on entry. This is where we are paused. And then what we can do is, this is the arrow you see here, next arrow which says a step over. It is going to give you a step by step execution. Okay, so if you click on this, it will say okay. Now you see variables, there are local variables which is for Apex class, there are static variables. Local is for object, not class. There are global, right? Then if you click on again next, nothing happening. You again click on next. Now you are here inside your Apex class. This is where your cursor is stopped. Your cursor is stopped. Now you can see here the call stack. Execute anonymous is the place from where you have called your code. Then what you have called from execute anonymous is the class which is PantherSchools.greetings. This is your Apex class which you have called. Okay, and you can see here this is where it has paused line number 12. It is telling you line number 12. On the variables, if you see the local variables for this method, that you see you have got message is coming as Apex Replay Debugger and name is coming as Amit Singh. You don't see anything over here in this message. If you do not use Apex Replay Debugger, you will not see anything. But if you use Apex Replay Debugger and if you hover over to a variable which is before the breakpoint, wherever your breakpoint is, you will see what exactly the value for that variable is. You can see it over here, right? Then this is where your breakpoint is. Now if you click on next, it is going to go to the next step. Go to next, and it actually system.debug is something our breakpoint doesn't work, and that's why it did anything. Our replay is stopped, and you can see here in the output section into the debug console, you can see here the debug says that Apex replay session terminated. So that is basically how, it's just a simple thing that I talked about, that how you utilize Apex replay debug the code. This is just a simple code. Okay, so for any questions or confusion before we actually move towards the maybe a mediocre code?
Yeah, I have few questions. The checkpoint you are using, right? Like this checkpoint we are also using in the uh like developer console as well, right? For debugging the code.
Yes, you can use that.
So one more question, like you are getting that debug log, and in developer console when we are getting the debug log, like we are not getting complete file. We have to download the file and then we need to check into the uh like in local, right? So
No,
here we will.
that's not true. There are different ways to view the file, the whole file in developer console. I'll show you, but yeah, you go ahead with your question.
Yes. So here, like whenever the debug log is getting created, we are not, like if the debug log is very big in the size, then we don't see all that. Consider in a list we have lot many data. Those data we cannot see indirectly in debug log. So here, can we see the, if we have lot many data in the list, that will be visible directly in VS Code.
Yes, it will be visible. Let me show.
Okay.
Yeah, any other questions you have?
No,
I
except
have one question. Can we use this in Lightning Studio instead of VS Code? Like it's a Chrome extension, so Apex Replay Debugger can be used in there as well, or it's just for VS Code?
Lightning Studio is a third-party extension. Salesforce will never provide support for that third-party extension, right?
Yeah.
So Lightning Studio just for writing. If I am right, it is more for writing the what I say. It's more for writing the LWC. If people do not want to use VS Code to write the LWC, they can use that extension. I really don't use, so I cannot comment much on that.
Okay.
Will it work in code build code builder?
Yes, code builder is Salesforce tool, right? Same
Yes,
thing,
yes.
same way, it will work there. Yes, it will work there. Yeah. Any further questions that that anyone has?
Hi Amit, Sachin here. So when you created this file, the comments on the first to eight lines got automatically added. And also when you write this list organizer, all the things were pre-populated. So is there any extension which you are using?
Which was pre-populated?
So when you wrote list organizer, list, yeah, this one.
This what you currently see, right?
Yeah, yeah. What
This
is
is
this?
the this is a VS Code extension. I'll tell you what VS Code extension I'm using, but
Yeah, because I think it is very helpful.
that is not helpful. Let me tell you beforehand. Okay, that is not
Okay,
helpful
And
for Salesforce. So it's
okay,
not helpful for Salesforce, but it is helpful for your JavaScript languages. That code that extension is mainly for JavaScript,
okay.
but I'll showcase you.
and
Thanks so much.
one more thing, like the debug log is running here, right?
Yes.
And like the debug log will run according to the system, whatever debug log we have set up in the backend, according to that it will run, or according to the user level debug log will run.
No, it will create its own log. Replay Debugger creates its own log. So if I go to Salesforce and go to setup, okay, we go to Salesforce and go to setup. Just a minute, let me switch the application first. Yeah. So if I go to Salesforce and you go to setup and search for debug log,
Hmm.
okay, this logging whatever is there, um, you will not see that debug log over here. That is the first thing.
Okay.
Okay, because it's a API log that gets created. But if you click on new and try to create another log, let me and go to the debug label, it will show that debug label over here. It's not showing actually, but usually the label shows over here. So it is something I would say behind the scene. A log is debug log gets created for your user only, but you cannot see that in the UI. So it is their own log. We don't need to worry about that. What setting we are doing and all.
It will not run on system level, in debug log we are setting on the user level, like if you wanted to check for on some particular user how the code is running for the some particular user, right? So those things will not come in replay debugger.
Then you will have to authenticate. You will have to connect your project with that user. So
That
if let's say there are two users, one is Amit Singh and another one is Hari. So if
huh.
I have to debug the code against Hari, then I will have to connect my VS Code for Hari users. So I have to uh, do some sort of maybe I have to take the access from Hari, not the actual username passwords, but the login access from Hari, and then I can utilize custom domain to log in, because I'm already logged in as Hari in my Salesforce org, so it will always it will logged in me as Hari, and then I will be able to log in.
Or
They
in general it will run according to the Amit.
in general, whatever the user you have set up over here, it's not necessary that I'm connected with my user here, right? It could be
Right.
any other user which I'm connected. So whatever the user I'm connected, it will use that user only.
Also, Amit, let's say if you're working on a big organization, so generally more than one of debug files are being created when we are trying to debug some.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so in that case, in the process which you have shown, you have selecting one file and right clicking that run this file using Apex Replay Debugger. So in that case, how those Apex Replay Debugger will be executed if there are debug logs in various files for a single process?
So if you have various debug logs for different process, it's obvious, and I'm assuming that it will all, whatever I have seen based on that experience I'm telling,
Mm-hmm.
most of the debug logs will be of different class, right?
Okay.
Maybe calling one class from another class. So there are high chances it might create two different log files. So you can run the replay debugger for both the logs one by one, and you see which one is actually used for you.
Okay.
Or one more thing, if you have noticed is, when you open your debug log, first you really open the debug log, right?
Yeah.
Then it shows you the entry point. So if you are aware that okay, this class is my entry point, you can use that debug log to run the code replay.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amit, one quick thing. So, is it like can we have this Apex Replay Debugger working only if we execute the code using anonymous part of VS Code, or can we have it working for UI interactions as well? Like, say for example, we are doing some actions on UI or invoking any LWC or Aura component. From there, we call the Apex. So, is it possible to capture it through that through those actions as well?
This is for any log that you get. It is coming from integration. It is coming from your Aura, your LWC triggers, anywhere. I just showcase you with anonymous. We will see the demo with LWC and Apex as well. So
Okay, from UI interactions, correct? Like we will perform some actions on the Salesforce UI and the logs will be captured over here, correct?
yes. Okay, so next questions we will take later. So now we have made some changes, like we queried some organizers over here. There are, I think, 20 plus organizers, which is enough for us to see the demo. We are there is an error in this code now. This should work. Okay. So we are checking if the size of our list is greater than 0, then go ahead and iterate one by one and debug it. Again, it's a simple. You could maybe wanted to perform some calculation, update the records, or some of them delete, that kind of things you can do. Now again, because our log is still running, it is valid till 12:52, so we are good. Let's select the same code again and execute this command, execute anonymous apex with currently selected text, and our code has actually got executed very soon. Then again open the command prompt, command palette, and search for the command called get apex debug logs, because you are currently using, so the top 5 or 6 commands will be the same which you are using recently. So select get apex debug logs, and this time you see that there are 2 logs. This is the latest one, which is I got at 12:39, and this is 12:25. So I'll download this 12:39 one, and it was also somewhere around 21 KB or something. And you can see here, this time the log size is somehow it's bigger than the previous one. Now we need to run the debugger on this. We will follow the same process. Right click, then select launch Apex Replay Debugger with current file, and your debugger is launched. You see here now the blue bar in the bottom has been changed to amber. It has been changed to amber now. Now you click on this step over, keep clicking unless it goes to your breakpoint. If it doesn't goes to your breakpoint, that means either you have added the breakpoint at the wrong place, or you are not able to that is the one thing, like your breakpoint is added at the wrong place or at the wrong class. So you can see here again the call stack. See here, this is the method which is being called from execute in omnis window. We are here under name variable. We can see local Apex Replay Debugger. If we hover over message, we see that the variable value is coming for message here, right? If we click on this step over button, now it comes and it executes line number 13. it has not executed. So if you hover over to organizer, there is nothing. But if you again click on a step, now you see here it says organizer list of 37 records are there. If you hover over, it is also not displaying. So I think we got our answer that we cannot see the complete list here if it is too big. So that answer is here now.
Okay.
And then if we go to next, then you see here this is our local variable org, and it is giving us the detail about what is currently there. This is the ID and this is the name of organizer. Okay, and if you click on a step, then there is a debug. It is again going back. Now the variable has been changed. You see here it is highlighted that this has been changed now to Sivasahu, right? Similarly, if I again do this, this is changed to resubstate, and it will keep going with all whatever the names that we have. We have total 37 records. Now this for loop is going to work total 37 times, and if you keep clicking on this, it will work. Now let's say that okay, you want to get rid of this for loop. What you can do is there is a next button, I mean the third button from the left, which says step into. This is a step over, this is a step into. If you click on, okay, it is also doing the same thing. This is really I would say we will have to keep doing. It's not like that. Okay, now this is your breakpoint where we are in. Now this is your second breakpoint. Now you wanted to get rid of this and you wanted to stop the execution of the code, which is the next breakpoint, right? So you just click on this pause button. If you click on this, why it's okay, it's going on the same thing. Okay, because of we have our debug log. Okay, so I'm just going, what's happening here, let me remove this. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Okay, let's keep doing this. What is this? Step out. Now this is something which really we have got a lot variables, and it's like frustrating. As of now we have only 37 records. In real time there would be 1000 records, and it will be really frustrating. So there is this step out. If you click on that, it will directly get out of that breakpoint and it will go to the next breakpoint, whatever it is. And then you can again start using focus and all, and it's done. So that is basically how your debug works. If you have a little bit complex, it's not even complex, it's a very simple code, but we just added few things. We just added breakpoints at certain places and it started working perfectly fine, right? Now this is a anonymous code which we have executed. Let me show you the real code that we have. Again, it's very simple, not that difficult, not the difference. So what is the scenario that here we have? So I have a component lwc upload file.html. This is basically accepting a file. This is this is accepting a file from the user, and then based on the given record ID, we can go ahead and upload the file under that record, and then create the public list of that, create the public link of that file, and then update the field. I'll show you what exactly is. Let me show you the code. So it is accepting few things like the record ID under which we wanted to upload the file, the content of file, what is the field API name, and what is the name of file. Okay, these are the 4 parameters we are accepting from Lightning Web component. And then the first thing we are doing is we are inserting the file under the record ID, whatever we have found. That's the first step we are doing. Second step we are doing is we are inserting the content distribution for the inserted content, so that we can create the public URLs, PDF URLs, images, thumbnails, that kind of URLs. Then we are just querying on the same distribution we have just inserted and then preparing the public URL, creating the instance of the object based on the record ID we have found here as a method, then updating the record ID and the field into the URL. So this field API name is kind of URL field where we wanted to store the URL of that file. That is actually all happening in this code, and then there is an exception that we have. If there is a problem at all, it will create an exception. Okay, let's say we wanted to create a breakpoint here on line number 36, 39, maybe 43 in case of update. Some places wherever you want, you can just go ahead, add the breakpoints into your Apex class. And remember, if you are adding a breakpoint, you do Control Shift P or Command Shift P, and then make sure you are updating the checkpoints in the org for the new Apex class. Okay, so let's update the checkpoints so that all our checkpoints are updated into Salesforce. So it will update the checkpoints for this Apex class, which is the class name is upload file controller. And once it is done, we see here we have got, okay, we have got only 4 minutes for recording the logs. So I'm again going to turn on the debug. We are again going to run the command called turn on Apex Replay Log Debugger, because only 4 minutes are remaining and we need more time. So we are going to again run the same command to extend the time frame of our Apex Replay Debugger to collect the log. Now it is extending, it is running, and if it is it will successful run. And you see here now the time has been changed to 180 1:18 p.m. Okay, so we have got again 30 more minutes, and that's good. So we have got this we have got all this thing, the code, and let me show you the JavaScript file as well. JavaScript file is kind of having upload file method, which is trying to read the file whatever we have uploaded, prepare the parameters for the file. You see here the parameters are being prepared, and then calling the method which is upload file, and this upload file method is coming from Apex class. I'm assuming that you all know at least the basic of LWC, so I'm not covering all these parts because that's not relevant for this session. It's just about, okay, there is some code and we need to see how we are going to debug it, especially the Apex code. So we got all these things. Let me go to Salesforce org and showcase you how it is working. Where is this? Yeah. So first of all, I'll go to opportunity. Okay. And then I'll go to opportunity object, open any opportunities. So what we will do is we will add the upload file component over here under the opportunity detail page, so that this file will be uploaded under this opportunity. Currently there are no files, and we will create a field into opportunity object which will be used to store the public URL of that file. So that field will be type of URL, so that we can store the complete URL whatever it is. Okay, let's go to click on next, and then we will say URL. I'm giving the read and edit access to all my permission sets, that whatever permission set I have, so that I can access that field. I can see that and save it. We just created a field called URL, and to make sure that field is available into the detail page of opportunity record, let's refresh the page so that we can see the field. And here it is. This is the URL field that we have. Okay, now let's edit this page. Let's edit this page, and under this page we are going to add a file. This is my component called upload file that I'm going to utilize here under opportunity. And as soon as I upload it here, you see on the right hand side, it is asking me two things: the record ID, which our component will automatically read from the URL, and the field API name. And this is the field which we have created, where the URL of the file, the public URL of the file will get updated. Okay, so let's save it, and it is asking for me to activate this record page. So we'll go ahead and activate this, and make sure if it is asking, I'm sure you are not following the same concept to debug, but that activating the page is really important for any changes that you are making. So we got the component here, upload file, it is field API name is here. Now I need to select the file. Okay, because our log is already running, our replay is also ready. So let's upload the file. I'm going to upload a file. This is file which is of 95 KB, and that's somewhere around 92 KB. Now you see here, this is the file name and the size is here. And if we upload this, now as soon as I click on that upload file, what happens, it is calling Salesforce, then it is creating a file record under this opportunity, creating a distribution record for that file, and then updating the field URL. Okay, if you go to detail page, detail page, you will see here that the URL has been updated. And if I click on this URL, I will see the public image. And if I put this image into the chat section, anyone with this image can access this image. They will see the same image of large ROM. Right, so you can see that this is just one of the functionality I've developed. Now what we need is, we need, say, this is again, these are all success scenarios that we are talking here. So now we need to see the debug log. You will go to VS Code, Control-Shift-P, get Apex debug log, that is your command, and this will give you the different log here. Now the top log, it says it is coming from Aura. So any web component or any Aura component will have Aura in the starting, which will tell you that this log is coming from Aura component. If you select this file, it will come here and it will tell you the entry file is like upload file controller, which is your file, action that is being invoked, which is upload file. Okay, and then you just do a right click, launch Apex Replay Debugger with current file, and your debugger will start. Then you can start using your tools here or your keys, whatever you have. And you see here, it says record ID, file content, field API name, and then file name, content to insert, because our line number 20 is the breakpoint. We already have content to insert, and all the information is here for that content. Okay, and if you go to next, then again you have the same thing here, and you have the same thing, and you keep, say, okay, I'm going there. As soon as you keep this going to the next steps, you will see a new variable got created with all these details, right? And if you go to this line number 20, again this is distribution. Now if you hover over to the variable, for example content to insert, you will see what is the information for that variable. Even if it is not here, you can hover over to that variable and see the value. Hover over to the file name variable, see the name. Hover over to the file content, see the content. Right, that is basically one thing, and you can clearly see here, right, how the call stack is looking like, how the methods are being called here. And you keep going, and if you see that, okay, in our case there is no problem, but you still can see here, right, all these things here, distributor record, which is like this one where we have made the query. So all this is how basically you will use your debugger in terms of any problem, in terms of any success code. If you want to, sometimes it is like there is no error in your code, but still that is not working due to some maybe certain settings in your Salesforce org, certain compliances or something, it might not work. Okay, so you have to use this replay debugger to replay it. In case of call stack, it was only showcasing two things because we didn't had much there, right? We didn't had the chain of sequence calling multiple classes at a time. I'm going to set up that process here to call the multiple classes at a time, but in the meantime, if there are further questions, I'm ready to take those questions. Looks like there are no questions, nothing.
One question I have.
Yeah,
Like consider that like few file, like I can see it looks like basically how we are debugging the JavaScript, the same functionality we are doing in the VS Code, right? Like whatever we are doing the inspect element, to be very frank,
yes, that
right?
is kind of similar, yes. But
Yeah,
JavaScript is real time, that is interactive. This is not interactive. This is
correct.
after the process has completed.
Okay, in inspect element we have lot many options like network and to check that the how the code is running, how efficient the code is running, how much time it is taking to complete the process. So is it possible to check that things in in, in this part as well?
That is a different thing that's not there in replay debugger, but I will show you how you can check that. Anything else? I was expecting that people will ask a lot of questions, and but that is fine if
It
no
looks
one.
very efficient, to be very frank. It looks very efficient to do the debugging through the replay debugger.
It is actually. It is actually.
Yes.
So, Amit bhai, Ravi here. What are the advantages of an interactive debugger over replay debugger? Also heard that it's a paid product.
Yes, it is a paid project. Oh, sorry, paid product, and it is basically what I said. It is interactive debugger. It's like the one
Like
you see in
JavaScript.
the browser. Yes, that is what exactly the interactive debugger is. So you can see in the real time. Like what here
Yeah.
we are doing is we are performing some actions, business logic. It worked. Now we are getting the log and then doing it. But
So,
in case
so
of
a simple, sorry to interrupt, but a simple analogy will be that in a cricket match, when the ball is given to the batsman and he hits it or he gets out, then in the replay we see how the ball went. So this is the same story which we are seeing over here. How variables get changed. Execution has already been done, but we are checking we are doing the postmortem of it for analysis.
kind of, yes, we are seeing the highlights of a cricket match. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Amit, I have one question. Like, let's suppose in our Apex class, we are calling one flow, and we are not sure whether the issue is in the Apex class or the flow. And we set up all the debugger, Apex Replay Debugger. So, whether it is possible to debug Apex flows as well here?
Apex flows, no, I don't think so.
Oh, so we can only check whether issue is in our Apex class, right?
Yeah. It's more about Apex code. It says Apex Replay Debugger, right? So the name itself says Apex. So it is only for Apex. And Apex
Oh,
can be anything.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yep. No worries. So yeah, what I did is I made some changes here. I did couple of methods, which is get account details. Another one is print organizer details. Calling same methods here from the greetings method. I added some checkpoints at 2-3 places and then updated the checkpoints into Salesforce org using the command sfdx update checkpoints in the org. Again, running the same command so that it can work, and you can see that okay, I have actually done it. Okay, and then in the meantime it is running and it has actually completed. We will select again the same piece of code. Now the reason here I have multiple methods, I wanted to demonstrate that the entry point is greetings method but there are other methods which are being invoked which are in the same class. Now there could be a possibility the methods are different classes as well, and that is how the real world code is going to look like. So let's go ahead, execute the code, which is execute the command, execute anonymous apex, okay, and it is going to execute the command which is now has been executed. We clearly see a success message here. So let's get the debug log for us, get debug logs, okay. And now this is the one you see here. There is a API. By API, using API we have executed the code. So we got it here, 21 KB, and let's run it. And this is our file which we got now. Let's do a right click, do a launch Apex Replay Debugger, keep going using the button which is step over, okay. And as soon as you reach to the breakpoint, you see that you have got the variables, you got the call stack. Now let's go to step over. Organizer list is got there. Now it starts printing one by one, okay. That is something which is I'm going to step out. Okay, I think it did not did. Okay, this is running, so I'm just clicking on, maybe I will have to click on 37 times, which is really bad for me. Okay, now this is where what happened. I think I ran this whole code and nothing happened. Sorry, I'll going to add one more couple of checkpoints. I'm sorry guys, I really went too fast. Let's update the checkpoints first. The checkpoints are being updated and we still have time. And now let's go ahead and run this code again. I really want to do it, so execute this code. Code got executed. Let's get the, what is this, let's get the Apex debug logs and select the latest one. And on this log we are going to launch our Apex Replay Debugger, okay. And that's fine if I have to do it for 31 or 32 times, 37 times. I'm actually going to use this step over button so that I can see other breakpoints are being displayed and we can see the other call stacks as well. So let's keep doing this. Okay, now we are out of that loop. We got this debug statement, and if you go here, what is happening? This log is, this is not reaching here. There's definitely some problem. It's printed actually. Now I'm going to get rid of first of all this piece of code where I really don't want to have any logs. Okay, name, list organizer is fine. This is also fine. For loop, I'm not going to have a those kind of things over here. Okay, so that did not work. Our checkpoints actually did not work for this file. That is fine. We again have to run the same piece of code, same information. That is like let's toggle the checkpoint first using toggle checkpoint. Okay, did it work? It did, yes, because it has removed the checkpoint here now. Then what we will do is we will say update the checkpoints in Salesforce org. That's really, we are doing it again and again, and sometimes it really happens in your with you as well. It will happen and it really happens. So if you get this kind of things, don't really lose your patience. And let's execute the code again. So greetings, execute, and yes, we will get the debug log again and again. Okay, yeah. So let me see why it did not work last time. The replay debugger is launching. It has not started yet. Now it had started. So if we step over, we got our breakpoint on line number 33, line number 13, which is here. After line number 13, there is a breakpoint on 15. Let's see what it says. Okay, so now you see here it is passing the organizer list and it is displaying. Oh, it says get account details and it is displaying the whole organizer list. So we are able to see that list over here somehow. Earlier we were using for loop, maybe that is why we were not able to see, but we are able to see the list over here now. Okay, so I'm not sure what is true. We can display the list or not because we are seeing both the behavior here. Then we've got organizer and what line number we are getting in. Okay, now it says list of 37 is too large. Wow, that's fine. Then we are here in line number 16 and then again it went back to 15. Why 15? Okay, it is coming. Oh, is it taking the for loop previous one? Maybe. Let's see what's happening. Let me expand this organizer variable. Yeah, it's actually keeping the previous log, and that's really bad and sad to see why it's happening. Okay, let's see what is happening when it's going to, and that is actually the reason it is taking, maybe it could be a catch or something, and that is why it's actually not showing other things. It immediately is jumping out of that, right? So let's first see what exactly it is saying. Okay,
I think it's due to cache memory.
it is definitely cache for sure, no doubt on that. It's definitely cache memory, but I'm just trying to see when it's going to get ended.
After 37.
After that, no, I'm not. Uh, but what you said after 37?
Yeah. After 37, repeat.
That is correct. After 37 repeat, it will get ended. but, but it's not calling these methods. My main intention was to showcase that, okay,
Are you not returning? No, so I think yeah, it should. And you are not doing any checkpoint over there, so that's the reason I think it's
Amit,
not going inside
uh,
that.
Amit, I
there
Get
is a
think
account.
checkpoint in this print organizer detail. But how this debugger works, the functionality of a debugger is that if you have a breakpoint at one place, it will keep executing one by one. That's what replay means. It will execute one line once and then it will show you the other lines. You might have seen it stopped here, then it shows you the details about this debug and then the other part of things,
Yes.
right? That's how it actually worked. I'm not sure why it's actually not taking, could be because of cache, but it actually shows every single call stack. So it will show you that you called greetings, from greetings you called account details, and from account, then from greeting itself you called this print organizer details, and not able to showcase this because of the cache, but that's how it will work.
Amit, can you try by removing this loop for loop 30th line,
Which line?
30 that you are printing system.debug, right? Organization.
It never key. Oh, okay. Mm, Actually, first of all, I deleted all the checkpoints. I will have to add it, but I got your point. What you're saying is maybe the debug that we were seeing is because of this, because we had a breakpoint over here. So we will
Yeah.
just have a breakpoint here on line number. Let me maybe create a variable here. A string a string name or account name something. It's just a dummy variable for my checkpoint thing. So we've got a checkpoints line number 29, checkpoint line number 20, checkpoint line number 13. These are all the breakpoints. Total 3 breakpoints we have done here. Okay, we are not doing any breakpoints here and yes, I will debug. Actually, I will maybe say nothing inside the for loop in case of account list as well. So that we don't really get into the multiple print statements. First, let's make these changes, deploy it. Next thing, once your breakpoints are added, you just have to again update the breakpoints into Salesforce, which is update checkpoints using that command. That's the first step after adding the checkpoints. Second step is second step is make sure that your logs are running. We have got 5 more minutes for the logs, so that is fine. Then go ahead and execute the process, or try to reproduce the issue, rerun the process so that you can collect the logs. And once your process is completed, use the command palette, use get apex debug logs to get the logs, and select the log which is appropriate for you, whatever the one you want to run the replay on. And once your log is open, do a right click and then click on launch Apex Replay Debugger file. It is going to launch your debugger. And then use these tools, use these controls that we have already talked about. So we are here, line number 13, we got, it has paused on line number 13, we got the variables here. Hover over line number 14, line number 15, okay. Yes, now see the call stack. That's actually I wanted to showcase. Execute anonymous window is calling greetings, and greetings is actually calling get account details, okay. And then get account details will be coming here. It will try to execute whatever the code you have. There are 17 account records because we had 20, line number 20, which is having a breakpoint, and it will try to I think now we again have to go with 17 times because as I said, it is going to execute every time. Now then what happened is this went into call stack, this get account details got executed. Then now from line number 17, which is again print organizer details got executed, and that is why we are here, and line number 29 is the pause statement for us. And then if you hover over, you can see account name variable as null. If you hover over to organizer, you see that there are total 37 records. Sometimes you are able to display, you are able to see it, sometimes you not. Hover over and you will see that organizer variable, you can see whatever the value is currently in this organizer. I'm going to click on this red square button which says stop, because we are already done with this complete logs, okay. That is how you are going to use your replay debuggers to utilize your Apex to run your replay your logs, get the data, work on it. There was a question, how do we see which time it has taken and all those kind of things. So for that, there is already an extension provided by Salesforce. I'm not sure how many of you have installed it or used it. That extension name is Apex Log Analyzer. This extension is used to analyze your logs, and how it is going to use is, if you do a right click and say here log show Apex Log Analysis, or when you open your debug log, on the top of your log you will see log show Apex Analysis. If you click on it, you will see how your code is performing. The timestamp is here on the top. Call tree, so timeline is something which is going to tell you how your method was executed, the call stack. This is the real call stack which is showing you, like if you hover over to the bottom one, this says that okay, it has somewhere around whatever the timestamp it got executed, then it actually executed anonymous code. From anonymous code, it executed a method PantherSchools.greetings, and then that method actually called two things. One is SOQL query here, you can see. Then there is another method being called, and then here there is one more method. So this greetings method is calling two methods. You see it over here. These are two methods. That little small, that small line is telling you the difference. And then under this method get account details, there is another query. So this is your whole call stack visualizing. You can see it here. And if you hover over, you will see what exactly time it has taken to execute certain process. On the bottom, you will see that different colors are representing for what, like SOQL. If the background is this, you will see that is SOQL. If the background is this, there is a DML and all those. Database tab actually talks about how many query and how many DML statements you have made, what was the result. Analysis actually talks about how many times and all, what was the total CPU timeout that you can, that your process has taken, and you can also kind of arrange the table columns that you have. So that is basically, this is where you would be more interested in whenever you are talking about the performance. It tells whatever the time it has taken, the total time and all. Call tree actually helps you to understand how your code was executed, what was the total call, and how actually it has happened. So this is again going to give you the stack trace basically. So yeah, that's all we had for today's session, like how you replay it with using Apex Replay Debugger, and how you are going to visualize it using Apex Log Analyzer. Any questions that you guys have?
No question from my side. It looks good for me. I have few question, and I was facing that issue when I was developing some development in LWC. Amit, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So sometimes the file I'm not able to see in inspect element of like why it's happening. Like in inspect element we can see all the JavaScript file in the in source, right?
When is the org got created?
Org is too like that is too old. 6 months, 7 month old org, that is.
Are you sure?
Yes. That org is 6 7 month old. 6 7 month old means the developer org has been created 7 8 month old, but
It
the
is 7-8 months, right?
yeah.
It's not that much older. Okay, do not say it's too old. Let me tell you why. The reason is there is a setting, there is a concept which Salesforce has recently introduced, and the name of the concept is Lightning Web Security,
Okay.
and that is enabled in your org. So if that setting is enabled, those none of the components and JavaScript file will be displayed in inspect element, and you cannot debug using web browsers. And that is there. The setting is inside session settings from the setup. If you go to session settings and you try to search for web security or something similar, it is basically web security, Lightning Web Security, and this is actually enabled for your org. So let me show you. It is disabled for me. If I go to opportunity, do a right click and inspect, and if I go to sources, I will see that under Lightning or opportunity, which is my URL here, if I go to modules and go to upload file, this is my JavaScript file, and I can debug it using breakpoints here. But as soon as I go ahead and remove this, enable this Lightning Web Security and save it, my components will be gone. So that concept basically Salesforce has introduced, and because of that, if that setting is enabled, any new org which is getting created, that actually has that settings enabled. Now you can see there is no component. You cannot see that.
Yes, you are correct.
So that is the reason for that. So if your org is something, now you can see here under components, maybe you can see if you're able to see it here. There is a folder called components, which is out of your space, out of this space. There is another folder called components. Then there is a C is your namespace. Under C, maybe you see if you are able to view this file, then you can utilize this place for debugging purpose. If you are able to see, that's again, there is a condition.
Okay, got it. Yes, I just saw that setup. Like, yes, you are correct that the setup is enabled in my org. Use lightning wave security for the lightning wave component and aura. That is enabled. So that's the reason that all the files are not visible for me.
Yes.
Yes, correct. And any another way, like before this setting, like is there another way to secure that LW aura component to not open in inspect element?
You cannot secure it until unless Salesforce gives you that ability. And
Through code, like we can write some line of the code, under some parameter over there, or through that we can like secure that code, like people cannot open that JavaScript in inspect element.
how you will secure it? What code you will write?
No, I am not sure. That's the reason.
Right?
Like
You cannot encrypt JavaScript, right? That is what JavaScript now is a server side language. It's a client side language. Any client side language will always be visible.
So how they in open source they are securing that then?
Where they said they are securing, they are not securing. If it has been any backend language like Java, Node.js or PHP, then it will be hidden. JavaScript is a client-side language. It will always be visible. If you see view, if you do a right-click and say view page source, that will also be visible. Every details, whatever all the JavaScript has been written. So every single information will be visible here, right?
Right.
So that is how JavaScript is also visible. You cannot hide it.